Good morning, everyone. How is everybody doing this morning? My name is Narco Maldonado, founder and president of Edge Leadership Consulting. And this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about how to equip managers to lead remote and hybrid teams effectively. Now that we're in this remote hybrid space, we need to understand how we're functioning as individuals and how supervisors and how leadership view remote and hybrid teams. So we're going to go over a couple of things for like the next 35 to 45 minutes. If you have any questions, by all means, leave it in the chat. If you want to just raise your hand, I can call upon you and just let me know. If you need a copy of this presentation, I'll be more than happy to provide it for you at the very end when I provide my contact information. So let's jump on into it. And we're going to talk a little bit about, leading across screens, virtual leadership for the digital age. Things have changed. Okay. So what we're going to be covering in this session is going to be five things. We're going to build trust with remote and hybrid teams. We're going to master the digital communications for effective leadership. We're going to foster the engagement between virtual teams, which is very important. We're going to run impactful remote meetings and how to run them. Meetings has become an issue as far as how we're doing it and how can we do it better? What are we not doing? And also, we're going to prevent burnout among the distributing teams. That's one of the biggest things that we have been experiencing within our organization, as far as what most of the workforce is complaining about, they're feeling burnt out. So that's what we'll be covering about today. So let's talk about an icebreaker. So the first thing to start, but what I want everybody to do is the following. In your home workspace, has a theme song, what played every time you would join a meeting? What would it be and why? And you can put that in the chat. You can send me an email. We can be interacting within ourselves. For me, I always think about the Eye of the Tiger from Rocky because we never know what's going on. But it also gives me a little bit of an understanding in where I am at. And also it gives me something to kind of think about. So I always ask everyone to see where they're at when it comes down to their specific theme song. It can be anything that you really, really want, but at the same time, you can pick your own, and then we can go from there. So the first thing we're going to building a trust in the digital space. The few things that we're going to stack about here is trust, right? We need to be able to trust who we are as an individual, but at the same time, the person that we are working with or for within the organization, they have to build some sort of trust. And that most of the times falls between the person and the supervisor, the manager, the general manager, the president, up and down the chain or the direct reports. So building a trust in the digital space is very, very important. And in the flip side, trust is the first thing that's being broken during digital space. So, we talk about a digital space. A lot of the people right now working remote or they're in a hybrid position. So it does change your availability, your access, and pretty much how you function throughout the day. So we're just going to talk about a couple of things, and I'm going to give you some key strategies that you can use to make your remote or hybrid position to be more effective and work for you. So one, we're going to establish credibility to consistency. Everybody has a role. So what changes between the office and in a remote setting? The task is the same. The environment changes. Okay. When you're in an office setting, you're around other coworkers, you're around other things. And home, you're just by yourself. You're establishing your area, your workspace. So your direct reports, and when I mean direct reports, say your manager, your supervisor, your general manager, they want to know, what is, person A doing at home? Is he or she doing what he or she is supposed to be doing? But all that has to do with effective communication. But at the end, it does have a trust piece to it. You have to be able to understand that. Okay. Create a rapport with regular check-ins, and I don't mean like every 10 seconds. Maintaining a good communication between yourself and your team, even though you're virtually or in a hybrid position, is very, very important. A study was done, and I like to bring in um, statistical data because I think numbers really kind of explain where everybody is at. And just to give a little bit of context, 36% of US employees would prefer to work fully remote given the choice more than any other work model. This is by YouGov Remote conducted last year. So keeping in touch with the specific section here, keeping that rapport is very important. Just talk to your team. If you have a very good rapport, it should be a very good, that should be a very good smooth communication lines. If not, then it's something that we can probably work with. Communication is one of the biggest concerns that the workforce has currently right now in a remote and in hybrid position. Okay. We're going to promote team identity through shared goals. Talk to each other, explain to each other, hey, this is what we want to do. Everybody's so remote now in various roles that they feel that they're so distanced, even though they are by, geographically, but you don't have to do that. You can maintain a very good um, rapport within your teams. In one of my previous employments, um, we were in a remote setting, so we worked very well with my manager and my supervisor. And we checked in, we chatted, we spoke throughout the day, and that's pretty much what built that trust between both of us, and it really worked well to this date. A key strategy for that would be set up a regular one-on-one virtual meetings to build rapport and address individual needs. Addressing and the one I want to kind of highlight here is it'll be addressing the individual needs. Okay. We're so
Later.
remote and everybody's all over the place that they want to know where, if I have a problem, do I have the opportunity to speak to my supervisor, to my manager, to my team. So a very good strategy for that is if you establish a one-on-one, maybe once a week, twice a week, that really does help you within and what you're trying to do. You give that person, say, you know what, that person does really care in how I feel, and what I'm doing, and it does matter to me. So that's a good strategy. This is the reason why I put this strategy was there's a lot of clients that I work with that they do not have that one-on-one, and it's more of an expectation in what they expect from them. So it's a twofold, but this is a great strategy to use. Establishing, hey, can we meet every Monday? Can we meet every Friday for like about 20, 30 minutes? And it can definitely build that trust, but also build that teamwork concept. Clear and engaging virtual communications. Communication is going to be very important, no matter what we're going to do. Communicate. If we cannot communicate, we might as well just kind of sort of forget it. Okay. So we're going to be using, synchronous and asynchronous communications effectively. What does that really mean, right? The synchronous is going to be all together, and the asynchronous is where it's not occurring at the same time. Okay. So if we're having a live training, we're all pretty much at the same time. Okay, but if I give you a training, hey, look at it later on to everybody, well, everybody's gonna look at it at different times. Okay, but having a clear communication line is gonna really, really ensure them to like, okay, today from this time to this time, I have to do my training. From this time to this, I have to do a meeting, I have to do a presentation. And it has to be a very clear and engaging communication. And I wouldn't even express the word clear and engaging because that is one thing that is always falters within a workforce. Okay, so I always know that 64% of remote workers say they're very likely to look for other opportunities with another employer providing no remote flexibility in the future. Okay, you have to be able to communicate anything effectively. Okay, set clear expectations to avoid misinterpretation. So, what is a misinterpretation? If I expect something, okay, and I just put I need to be off for a doctor's appointment, you know, uh, maybe we can communicate that a little bit more better. It all goes back to the relationship that you have with your team and with your direct reports. That's very important. I'm not going to go too far into the communication, as everybody pretty much understands that the communication is a very key part of ensuring that everything moves forward effectively. We're going to balance transparency with concise messaging. And it's exactly what I mean by concise messaging. Is there an opportunity, make requests? Also, your vocabulary where you're doing your communicating online, that also does matter. So be very cognizant about what the other person might perceive your message. So be very concise, very professional, very accurate, and very clear, just like this slide was mentioning. A key strategy to that is use a standardized communication template for project updates to ensure consistency and clarity. And not everybody has to use a formal template, and I'm not saying that. The reason I put that is because some people do prefer a template. Hey, this is we're going to talk about. let's talk about the following things. Let's talk about your health. Let's talk about your family. Let's talk about work. Let's talk about your goals. Let's talk about what you want to accomplish in the next 30 to 60 days. Let's talk about our goals as an organization, but more important about myself, what do I want to do? So be very key, very clear. And the more you know your team, the better everybody will work effectively. Okay, the more everybody do that's going to work effectively. That's to be a strategy that you can use. And like I said, a lot of these strategies, they have been proven through other studies. They've been going through doing a case study on remote and hybrid working. So, and I got all these strategies from that specific study. So, running high impact and remote meetings, right? So, we have meetings a lot. We have meetings pretty much every single day. We have to ensure that the agenda gets done. So, we're going to talk about a couple of things that we can use for um, running remote teams. And before I start this slide, I want to point out a couple of statistical data. 78% of managers say that remote teams are exceeding performance goals. So I kind of like those numbers. Okay. Set clear agenda and desired outcomes. What are we going to talk about in the agenda? What are we going to talk about during the meeting? And what do we want to outcome? The last thing that we want to do is spend more time just kind of sort of not really being productive, but that everybody's online and not everybody's paying attention. And we have to be honest with who we are and the people around us. If there's no agenda, there's no process, if there's no game plan, people will lose interest and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to wander somewhere else and be on my phone. I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So just understand that for a manager to kind of sort of manage that, it goes back to slide number one, which is going to be trust. Okay. But it's always good to have a clear agenda of what's going on with the meeting and how, especially if you're in a high impact industry or situation or part of a team that has deliverables that are very concise. That's what then you can do. Use interactive tools to maintain engagement. One of the things one of my clients told me when they were doing their remote teams was they get the whiteboard and everybody gets to draw something just to kind of sort of get engaged. That has increased their productivity by 10% from their previous meetings, which was fairly good. We tracked that for like about 3 months, and the engagement was much, much better. So, as a manager, as a supervisor, even as an individual, get some of those creative ideas in what you can do to engage everyone at one time. Okay, we're going to manage the disruptions effectively. So, how do you manage disruptions effectively when you're in a remote setting or in a hybrid setting? Is understand where you're at. If you're going to be at home, understand you have any external disruptions you might have. You know, if you're close to a street, if you're close to a road where there's high traffic, or if there's family members or you have a pet. So just understand where you're at. And I'm pretty sure that the people that I've spoken with about this specific topic, everybody kind of manages their disruptions effectively. And what I mean by that is they ensure that if they're going to be in a meeting, that they kind of make sure that there's somebody around. They ensure that prior to the meeting, they set up their office to ensure that there is going to be no distractions. And there's going to always be distractions. There's no such thing as a perfect world or a perfect reality for a meeting. Something always happens, and especially if you're in the office setting, you're going to have the loudspeaker, or you're going to have the phone ringing, you're going to have other people talking, you're going to have people talking by your office. So it's just kind of just manage that as an individual. And it all depends on the meeting, whether it's at like an executive level, a manager level, supervisor level, a team level. But no matter what, all these matter for no matter what kind of meeting. Okay. Because that's a good way to lose all your people while you're going at it. Okay. As we're going to go, I'm going to be putting out some statistical data. The Doolittle study found that 73% of employees who engage in collaborative work reports improvement percentage, while 60% say it sparks their innovations. We have to keep everybody interactive and keep everybody busy. Okay. A key strategy to that would be utilize collaborative tools like virtual whiteboards, like I said earlier, to engage participants actively. And it doesn't have to be a whiteboard. It can be a whiteboard. It could be something else. It can be a game. It can be a team, a team in a team setting where everybody's on, and we talk a little bit about a game. We can play some virtual games excuse me, some virtual games you can use to engage all of your team members and get creative. When I speak with some of my clients, I tell them get creative. That's I do it as within my business. When I do trainings with managers, we have a coloring session, something different than what they're normally accustomed to, but it allows them to kind of quiet down the noise, kind of refocus, and then execute the next project that we're going to do, or the meeting, or the discussion. So always get creative, think outside the box, and you'll be surprised in what you accomplish with that mindset. Preventing burnout in distributed teams. This happens a lot, more than what we would like, and it's a big issue within remote and hybrid teams. Okay. 86% of full-time remote workers report experiencing burnout. That's a pretty high number, reporting burnout. And what's a burnout, right? You're constantly doing the exact same thing. You don't have any breaks. It's always a go, go, go because it's got to be delivered at a certain amount of time. Um, and that happens a lot of time where there's no clear communication between point A to point B, and we execute, point C. Burnout creates additional concerns. And I'm talking about health concerns as well. So we're going to go over these, and then we're going to go over some key strategies for that, for preventing burnout. Balance workload and encourage breaks. Okay. You have to take some breaks. You have to be able to kind of sort of disengage for a moment, to take 20, 30 minutes, or during your lunch hour, maybe read a book or breathe, yoga, some different things to kind of sort of balance that workload. Okay. And when we do not have breaks, our mind is constantly working overtime and we're not really giving it a break. So I recently spoke with some educators about this specific topic, that we're doing remote work, and they admitted and they acknowledged that the burnout was due to priorities, they were due to taskings that required extensive research, but then yet very little time to kind of sort of reset and re-engage with what they were trying to do. So, I explained a couple of strategies they can use as well. Everybody's different depending on your industry and depending the people that you serve. Okay. Implement wellness initiatives remotely. That's a great initiative itself. Walking, do a challenge within your organization, within your team, walk around. I do remote work myself, and I just go for a walk for like about 10, 15 minutes, kind of being, disengage, and then come back and just, attach or attack the problem or the situation, or just get back to work. So always know that you have to kind of sort of balance yourself up a little bit in what you need to do. Okay. You're going to monitor the engagement and support flexibility. So why do we have remote teams? Why do we have hybrid teams? Well, depending on the industry, depending on the job, that's where you have to be at. But what does it really mean to be in a remote setting? What does that do? Is there a benefit to that? 71% of US teleworkers say working from home helps them balance work and personal life. A big thing, especially now with the new changes in everybody returning back to the office, and um, kind of sort of not so much focusing on the remote, but it's still a very high number of people that are currently working remote as of right now. So for that 71% of say that it helps them with that, that's great. That also helps with the burnout too as well. And I want to put that statistical data there because it does help when you balance every single thing throughout. Okay. And also, over half, which is 56%, of those who work remotely at least occasionally claim that their work engagement supports the ability to accomplish tasks and meet deadlines. That's because in a remote setting, you kind of sort of control when you can take a break, you kind of be flexible, you don't have a lot of the external concerns, issues, and we need to be able to understand and acknowledge that so we can move forward. Okay. And a key strategy for that was encourage flexible hours to accommodate personal needs and reduce stress. It's very, very important. Every industry has different policies and procedures for remote work. For the on-site, you're hybrid, or you're going to be fully remote, or if you're in an average. This is a very interesting statistic. The US will see 36.2 million remote workers by 2025. That's a 417% increase from pre-pandemic levels. Okay. We're going away from the pre-pandemic to the post-pandemic. Now we're in a different set of rules when it comes down to remote work. Okay. And that's a pretty big a pretty big increase because more people are now they're seeking that remote work, that flexibility to help them with gas, help them with taking food. That does save money. That does a lot of things. And I do know that there's another training that talks about more benefits and challenges for remote work. But I just want to go with this. So encourage your flexible work to accommodate personal needs and then reduce the stress. When you are stressed out at work, you are not at your full potential. We have to be honest about that. I'll use one of my clients as an example. He worked from home 3 days a week, and he goes, when I'm at home, I'm not stressed. I come to work, and not that it's the environment around that's stressing me out. It's just a lot of distractions and the people. And I say, okay, maybe we can do better. But it's a very good even work-life balance where it's 3 days in the office and 2 days in the office and 3 days at home. So it does help to a little bit with this personal and reduce stress. So my takes over here. So the first would be regular one-on-one virtual meetings to help build rapport and demonstrate leadership consistency. So managers, supervisors, leaders, everybody in a has the position has direct reports to him or her. They need to understand that having that one-on-ones are going to be very important. Okay, you need to be honest with yourself and with your team. Number two, understand standardized communication templates to improve clarity and prevent misunderstandings. You have to be able to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where we're going. Okay, number three, incorporating collaborative tools with virtual whiteboards to increase engagements and productivity. Encouraging flexible work hours can reduce stress and support work-life balance. Mastering the art of virtual leadership to build trust, communicate clearly, and inspire high performance remote teams. Very important, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very important. We'll talk a little bit about remote work and what does it do. But I put virtual clarity, trust, inspire, and remote because all that it embodies the remote hybrid setting. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time this morning to hang out with me and talk a little bit about remote and hybrid teams and how to lead them with the actions that that you would have. I really appreciate everybody's time. My email is there if anybody wants to take a picture of it. If you want to send me a message, I'm available on LinkedIn. And pretty much if there's anything else that I could do for you, by all means, just let me know. Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody's time and everybody have a great day.